Okay, it's time to do a walk around and a overview and this kind of a review and my thoughts on the kicker competition subs. This example I'll be going through, I went over a C18A. This is a C15A. The C18A is kind of its own thing. They have some of the same design features, but this is more in line with the rest of the series. The 15, 12, 10, 8, and 6.5 are more alike than the 15 would be to the 18. Um, but yeah, I mean, I have a lot of opinions on the kicker competition. I think I just think you can't go wrong in using them in an old school setup. Um, they are not super easy to come by. Yeah, they're fairly easy. I don't know. They're for their age, probably the most common sub you will come across. Um, and for good reason. They were excellent subs at a fairly low price point. Um, and they've lasted for a very, very, very long time. Um, to me, this is when kicker was kicker. Um, Another thing too, I want to mention right off the bat is that why they ever went away from this logo, I will never know. Like either completely redesign the thing, or just don't go to a different color scheme, or this yellow. I don't. It just looks horrible to me. This to me is the classic kicker. I mean, I don't know when I see this logo on something, I feel I just know it's going to be one of their quality items. Not that they make bad equipment now. I wouldn't use it. It's not made in the United States. Um, the subs I've heard. I don't know. I don't care for them. They're in comparison to other subs of today. I guess they're okay. I mean they vary greatly. Um, I don't. I feel back in the day, you could go all the way from the Impulse, which was right below this line. Later on, those didn't come out until like maybe 97, 98. Then to the Comp, to the XPL, to the Solo Barrack, and I don't think you could make a bad decision in that entire spectrum of their lineup. Nowadays, I mean, you can get a kicker, the lowest kicker comps at Walmart, and it's generally not a good sign when it's sold there. But I mean, I guess I've read, I've seen kickers' official responses that they want to make it available, at a price point that anybody can afford, and that's fine. I mean, um, the business model of car audio has changed greatly over the last 10 years, and then the 10 years before that, it's completely unrecognizable. Um, it's just you don't have boutique shops, which is what the car audio um, business model was pretty much across the board was designed on. Um, I mean, unless you're a flea market company or something like that, but any of the reputable manufacturers, they did their business at shops specifically car audio. Later, big box stores dabbled with some of the major brands. And Crutchfield also like mail order catalog type business model, but for the most part, I mean, it was little shops all dotted all over the U.S. that are now, I would say, 95% defunct. Um, it just when the price, there was a lot of different reasons, I think, and I think I'll do a video at some time, kind of um, running down what those reasons were, but. I don't kicker. They had to do what they had to do. But today's video is on what I figure was the kind of the high water mark, which was mid to late '90s. This is a version of the comp, so a C15A, and I don't. They're my favorite. I don't know why. They made updates to it. It seemed like there was a improvement to the C range. So like not really in power handling, but just like I think the basket maybe was a little bit better, and I believe they went to push terminals on the C. Um, I'm not entirely sure on that. I have to dig. I have some 12s I'll dig out, but um, Yeah, I just I had these hooked up I don't know 3 years ago before the JLs and these are actually in before I went from these to the PPI 12 flat pistons to the JL Audio 18W6, and that was kind of the progression of what I've used as my uh, sub drivers. So um, I liked all three. I thought all three performed really well. They all have their merits. The and none of them disappointed. They all stand up to the reputation that they had in the '90s. This probably would be I would have to guess top three most used subs in the '90s. Um, the the original, I guess it wouldn't have been considered competition. They were considered separates, but I think those were pretty similar to these. And and as I go through the speaker, we'll kind of see what design features Kicker brought to the table. Um, the biggest difference from the separates to this is what they had called the inverted dust cap. I don't believe they were the first to do this, but their explanation for this is that it increases rigidity, which makes sense. Because as you have the voice coil, pushing back and forth, um, I don't know, you just have a completely uh, concave design. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not you know an expert, but it seems like I guess it would make sense. Except for if you've ever popped one of these dust caps off, there isn't a lot of material there, so I don't know how much rigidity and how much marketing link was involved in that. But at any rate, these are um, excellent sounding subwoofers, and for their time, really good output. And the test of time has shown that they were very well made and very durable design. It's funny because you go through it. There's really not a lot to a kicker comp, um, but which maybe is why it exceeds at all those things. Um, they just they work and they work well, and I mean, I don't know, if you didn't tell somebody what you had back there, they know whatever it is good. They just you could have guessed that they had a much more expensive set of subs. But I don't think even though they were called the competition, I don't know how well these would perform in an SPL competition because uh, they don't have, for what they are, they seem to have a fairly high power handling capability, and they have a fairly decent um, uh, throw as far as like X Max, and they have a fairly good output, but they're not like top of the game in any of those categories. They're just kind of an all around well rounded sub. I guess this would be like the Ford Taurus of subwoofers. They're like everybody. It's just everybody had them and they worked. They weren't really flashy, but they worked. They worked well, and they were very common. And they were common for a reason. Now, one of the interesting things that I've read, and I don't really have any way to confirm it, is that whoever designed these, or maybe they had a hand in designing them, either sold or went to linear power, and the Blues audio subwoofers are kind of based on this design, or like almost entirely. The only thing that seems weird about that to me is that I thought the Blues audio was a paper pulp, whereas these are composite. They always were. The separates were composite. All throughout the line, they were composite. I don't know, other than maybe some truck boxes, you'll see some subs and they have a convex dust cap, um, uh, and they just say kicker across it, and there's not the logo. I think they might have the color scheme, the red and the white and the black, but they I think they were only in truck boxes, and I've only seen them in tens and maybe eights. I think they put them in base tubes as well. Um, but and those might have been paper. But other than that, I think all the kickers were composite or plastic cone and dust cap, other than the separates, which was a cloth with the gold lettering saying kicker. Um, but I can't even remember where I read that, but I don't know. I have not heard the Blues Audio speakers. I was trying to get my hands and really wish I could have on a trisobaric enclosure, and that would be awesome to do a review on that. Um, by many accounts, that was one of the most amazing subs um, put into their optimal um, enclosure. I heard the sound quality is excellent. The output for what it is excellent, and it's a crazy wild design that they came up with. And apparently, you can't recreate that with the current blues, or now it's no longer blues. I think it's just linear power um, subs. But yeah, if I can, it's kind of a unicorn. But if I get my hands on one of those, I'll definitely do a review on that. Um, and then it would just be interesting to find out if the kicker comp really had anything to do with that, or if it's just a story that's out there. There's a lot of bogus information on the internet, so hard to say. But anyway, let's take more of a look at the kicker comp. The front, it's got the inverted dust cap, uh, and then that's composite cone, flat attach. Because there's angle attach and then flat attach, stitch surround, foam surround, Rubitex, and it seems like the A's hold together the best. C's you'll see falling apart. D's are horribly notorious for the Rubitex just coming apart in layers. I haven't really seen one unless it's like pretty much new, never used, where the Rubitex is intact. And that's the features that you'll see on the front. And then for this one, which is the A, let's see. You got this stamped steel basket. And then you can see the composite cone has kind of like a little line there, and that's where the dust cap lays in, so it sits like flush. So it kind of has a continuous look to it. So it doesn't look like it's laying on top of the cone. Spade terminals. Everybody loves those from the 90s, don't they? Um, People nowadays don't realize how good they got it. Um, the the boot, the kicker boot, which again, I don't know if they were the first, but they, early on they had adopted this. It covers the magnet, but it just gives the speaker a really good look. It doesn't really hide necessarily the size as much, the size of the motor and the magnet is other things. You'll see subs today throw big old chunks of plastic around it, trying to like quadruple the size of the motor, hiding what it is. Um, this isn't really like that. It's just more of a finishing touch to make it look like just a better looking product from the back. And then the real obvious design feature is the uniplate extended pole, which allows the coil to go further without hitting the and then you see at the bottom there, vented pole. It's just a little piece of wire mesh to keep particles out of the coil gap. But yeah, the extended coil just keeps the voice coil from bottoming out. And then Stillwater Designs, which was actually the name of the company, not Kicker, but everybody knows them as Kicker, because that's by far their most famous product. Um, and then here's a look at what the back sticker looked like. And then you can see here it's a competition C15A. All the kickers had this stamped into it. I mean, even the 18 has this uniplate, Stillwater Designs, all the way down to the 8. I think even this, I don't know, maybe the 6.5. I'm not sure. Those are kind of regarded as, I don't know. Well, I'll just say personal opinion. The kicker 6.5 is probably, to me, it's my favorite 6.5. The problem is that they go for big money because I'm not the only one that feels that way. So I mean, if you want to run a set of them, you're gonna be forking over dough, probably more than they were even new. There's there's videos online of a guy who has an amazing setup. He's got the four of the that I earlier reviewed, the C18As. He's running four of those, 8 ohm, and then he's got just a ton of early kicker. I think maybe they were resolution is what they were called. They're component sets, but he's got some. He's got a bunch of the 6.5s. I think he's got a couple eights, maybe tens. I don't know. He has the entire lineup in packed into a Dodge Dakota. Um, and I don't know. I'd look it up. If you probably put in like kicker old school, it'd probably come up. It's a one of the most amazing builds I've seen in a long time, and he's got some really cool videos of it. So I'd suggest you check that out. I found him really interesting. Um, and then see if I can get a view of the spider. Kind of hard to get in there. But yeah, so one interesting thing about this set is it was a Craigslist deal. I got them for $75 in a box, um, which to me is an excellent deal on a pair of Kicker 15s. I picked up three sets of 12s. Trying to think what else I've grabbed of kicker comps. I just kind of whenever I see them on Craigslist for a decent price, I'll go and snatch them up. Um, but they're just to me when they start going for prices that low, it's just it'd be a shame to see just somebody who just didn't have a lot of money and was looking for any subwoofer going and buying them and then throwing them on some, you know, you know, 1,500 or 1.5K, 1.5K, Class D amp, and then just blowing them apart. Um, you don't need to put a ton of power to them. They can handle quite a bit. These 215s were run off of a PPI 2350, which I've been running that pretty much constant. Um, Actually, no, no. When I had these up to a 4100, and then I ran a 2350 to them. Then I gave them to a friend to when I took them out. He liked them a lot, so I let him run them. He was running them for 2 years straight to a ZR240, which that was an amazing setup. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. Go get a ZR240 and you can get those fairly cheap a lot of times, sub $100. Find a pair of Kicker 15s. I mean, on eBay you'll pay maybe 120 a piece, up to 150, maybe a little less. But on Craigslist you should be able to find a pair of them for 100 for the same for about that price. If you look enough and just be patient, and you run that ZR240 to pair of these kicker comps 15s or 12s or 412s, and you can't go wrong. I mean, it's just an amazing sound. If for bass, it's hard to beat. I mean, I spent considerably more than that on what I'm running now, and I mean, it's louder, but it doesn't sound really any better than that. I mean, that's a great sounding setup in a sealed box. I mean, so you don't have to get crazy with designing a box. These things are pretty forgiving. Just an excellent driver. Well designed. Um, I like the look of them. You might have to replace a surround, which can be a little difficult because they got all that stitching and whatnot. But you can find replacement parts for this entire thing, except for the soft parts, of course, the cone and the dust cap. I don't know if I haven't even looked for a voice coil, but um, I don't know. I haven't seen too many of these reading open completely blown. Generally, it's a foam issue, um, or I have some C12Cs where um, the dust cap had come unglued. The dust cap's a little bit bigger. Like the 12 is about the size of this 15's dust cap. Um, but yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, I recommend them. When anybody's asking me, like, I'm kind of thinking about doing an old school build. What do you think I should get? Kicker comp, kicker comps, and put a halfway decent amp to them, and you'll get that old school sound, and you can't go wrong. I mean, you're not going to spend a lot of money. You're going to get an excellent sound. You're going to get that old school sound, and um, I would never be embarrassed to open my trunk and have a bunch of kicker cops back there. So I don't know. I can't say enough great things about it. This was when kicker was kicker, and it's a time that's gone, and it's not. It's a different world, and different technologies, and time marches on. But me, I just like the nostalgia of these products, and I don't think they're gonna put out a driver that I'm gonna, no matter what they do, that I'll like better than the original kicker count.